Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Reza mantofani, and in this time, I will tell all of you about. Uh, I will tell all of you something about listening. Yeah, something we have relation with that. Uh, and sure, I don't really know about my statement is correct or not. So don't judge me and don't make me to think it's really right or not. So just let check my video. uh, in the first section, I will tell all of you about theoretical review of teaching and for listening. Listening is comprehension is the traditional way of thinking about the nature of listening. In that, in most methodology, manual listening and listening comparison are synonymous. The view of listening is based the assumption that the main function of listening in second language learning is the facilitate understanding of spoken discourse. Richard stated that to understand the nature of listening process, we need to consider some of the characteristics of spoken discourse and the special problem they pose for the listener. Spoken discourse has very different characteristics from written discourse, and thus difference can add number of dimensions to our understanding of how we process speech. For example, spoken discourse is usually instantaneous. The listener must process it online, and there is often no chance to listen it again. And then I will tell you purpose for listening. In real situation, we rarely or readily listen somebody without any expectation what we are going to hear. This means that we usually have preconceived idea of the content, and these ideas are based on our knowledge about the heard information. In everyday situation, there are a great number of reasons for listening. Brown and Yule divide the purpose into two main categories: interactional and transactional. Interactional purpose conveys social reason of communication such as chatting at the party, whereas transactional is used to express exchange of information such as to follow instruction. When listening to somebody or something, we use different strategies in order to understand the message, and that is why it is so important for teachers to help their students to learn how to listen. Based on research, there are two different kinds of processes are involved in understanding spoken discourse. These are often referred to as bottom-up and top-down processing. Bottom-up processing refers to using the incoming input as the basis for understanding the message. Comprehension begins with the received data that is analyzed at subset level of organization, sound, word, clause, sentence, text, until meaning is derived. Comprehension is viewed as a process of decoding. The listener lexical and grammatical competence in a language provide the basis for bottom-up processing. The input is scanned for familiar words, and grammatical knowledge is used to work out the relationship between elements of sentence. Summarize the view of listening in following way. 1. Take in a raw speech and hold a phonological representation of it in working memory. They immediately attempt to organize the phonological representation into constituents in defining their content and function. 3. They identify each constituent and then construct underlying proportion building constantly onto a hierarchic representation of proportion. Once they have identified the proportion for a constituent, they retain them in working memory and at some point purge memory of the phonological representation. In adding this, they forget the exact wording and retain the meaning. In teaching bottom-up process, learners need a large vocabulary and a good working knowledge of sentence structure to process text bottom-up. Exercise that develop bottom processing help the learner to do such things as the following. First, recognize input while it's being processed. Second, recognize word and clause division. 3. Recognize keyword. 4. Recognize key transition in discourse. 5. Recognize grammatical relationship between key elements in sentence. 6. Use stress and intonation to identify word and sentence function. B. Top-down processing. Top-down processing, on the other hand, refers to the use of background knowledge in understanding the meaning of a message, whereas the bottom-up processing goes from language to meaning to top-down processing goes from meaning to language. The background knowledge required for top-down processing might be previous knowledge about the topic of discourse, situational or contextual knowledge, or knowledge in the form of schema or script, plus about the overall structure of event and relationship between them. In teaching top-down processing, exercise that require top-down processing develop the learner ability to do the following. Use keyword to construct the schema of discourse. Infer the setting for a text. Infer the role of the participant and their goal. Infer cause or effect. Infer unstated detail of situation. The following activities develop top-down listening skill. Students generate a set of questions they expect to hear about a topic, then listen to see if they are answered. Students generate a list of things already know about a topic and things they would like to learn more about, then listen compare. Student read one speaker part in a conversation. Predict the other speaker part, then listen and compare. Student read the list of key points to be covered in the talk, then listen to see which one are mentioned. Student listen to a part of the story. Complete the story ending, then listen and compare ending. Student read news headline, guess what happened, then listen the full news item and compare. C. Combining bottom-up and top-bottom listening and listening listen. In real-world listening, both bottom-up and top-down processing generally occur together. The extent to which one or other dominate depends on the listener familiar with the topic and content of attack, the density of information in attack, the text type, and the listener purpose in listening. For example, an experienced cook might listen to a radio chef describing a recipe for cooking chicken to compare the chef's recipe with her own. She has a precise schema to apply to the task and listen to the register similarities and differences. She make more use of top-down processing. However, a novice cook listening to the same program might listen with much greater attention, trying to identify each step in order to write down the recipe. Here, far more bottom-up processing is needed. A typical lesson in current teaching material involves a three-part sequence consisting of pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening, and contain activities that link bottom-up and bottom-down listening. The pre-listening has prepared students for both top-down and bottom-up processing through activities involving activating prior knowledge, making prediction, and reviewing key vocabulary. The while listening phase focus on comprehension through exercise that require selective listening, gives listening, sequencing, etc. The post-listening phase typically involves a response to comprehend, may require students to give opinion, include a button to focus a teacher and listener, examine that text or part in detail, focusing on sections that students could not follow. This might involve micro-analysis of sections of the text to enable students to recognize such features as bands, reduced word, ellipses, and other features of spoken discourse that they were unable to process or recognize. I think that all for me now, and thank you for watching my videos, and just forget it after you watch this video, please. And for sure it's really embarrassed for me because how bad my language skill.